Today's episode of Burnt Out is brought to you by Code Green, keeping a first responder's well-being our priority. Turning Point Madison County, a 24/7 call helpline that assists people in life-altering situations with a primary focus on addictions and mental illnesses. And by Bridges of Hope, accredited care for substance use disorders. For more information on our sponsors, please visit burntoutpodcast.org.
Engine 1 out, World Trade Center, 1060. Send every available ambulance, everything you got to World Trade Center now.
Type 4, 10-6, been transmitted.
Welcome to Burnt Out. The Burnt Out podcast shares stories of firefighters, emergency medical personnel, and other first responders around the world to create a pathway to save lives. The stories you will hear are real and may be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. And now I'd like to introduce you to your host to Burnout, a 33-year retired veteran of the fire department, Skip O.
Thank you, Sean, for that great introduction. I'd like to welcome everybody to Burnout Podcast. We're here to help first responders find a pathway to recovery, whether it's for addiction or PTSD. I'd like to thank our three sponsors. You can go to our website, burntoutpodcast.org, and you can see more information about them. Today we have this awesome person. She's got a great spirit. She helps not only first responders, but anybody that needs help for recovery. And she gets involved with things around her community. And we're here today with Tesse Keesling. Tesse, welcome to the show.
Hi, Skip. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here too. We were just talking right before we started recording how my mind went blank. Tesse was nervous. I was like, okay, everybody's getting this for raw. So you're getting the real deal here. But I'm just grateful, Tesse, to have her in my life. She is involved in a great treatment facility here. I'll let her go into that. And also with a new program called the Warriors Program that Jason Howard kind of designed. Well, he did design. And that the Bridges of Hope and the Worldwide Peer Support is making that happen. But Tesse, tell us a little bit about yourself, like your family background, just a short little glimpse about your family and just about what you do.
Yeah. So, current day, I have been, married for 13 years. And I have 3 teenager boys. So they definitely keep me busy. I also, like you said, I stay very active in what I do. I love my role at Bridges of Hope. I'm the clinical outreach coordinator. So I get to travel all over Indiana and sometimes out of state. I get to make great connections with other folks who then, become friends. And just help me connect others to a life of recovery. So it's very rewarding. It's fun. It can be draining at sometimes, but that comes with the territory. And I'm just blessed to be where I am today.
Well, Tesse, we really appreciate the kind of work you do in this community and your heart. I tell you, when you're struggling, you're a first responder, or whether you're a person that's just struggling with addiction or PTSD, Tesse's the go-to person. That's the person. She won't leave you in a fire. She'll back you up if you bust into that door, if you're a policeman. She's that kind of attitude, that kind of person. But Tesse, years ago, you had your own struggles. Would you want to go in just a little bit in those and let people know that you're not just an advocate for addiction, but you walk that path one day in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am repetitive sometimes in the things that I say, but one of the things that I do say is, I work for Bridges of Hope, but my first job is to reach back and help the next addict. So I keep that, top of mind. That's my first goal. And so, yeah, I started out in my addiction. I was 17, and just like the literature will say, it starts out very minimal. Started using, on the weekends, trying different things. Started out small, with marijuana and alcohol and a few parties here and there. And um, I had, graduated high school and was already enrolled into college, and got 2 months into college. And by that time, I'd already moved out of my parents' home with my boyfriend at the time and with friends. And I didn't want to miss out on those parties. So I dropped out of school. And so, of course, that partying became an everyday thing. The house was known as the party house. And, just over time, that experimenting turned into, just a fast forward, waking up and needing that substance, whatever it was I was using at the time, on, my nightstand, just so I could function for that day. So it became very real, 17 to, flash forward to 24. It was like I blinked and wondered where my life went.
So, so you had all this stuff going for you, and then that's what addiction does. We trade our life in for that drink, that pill, that joint, that whatever it is. Toward the last 6 months, could you kind of describe in a general way what got you to your bottom in a general way?
Ooh, so it's actually funny that you say the last 6 months, because, um, my addiction, looking back, like I said, it started out minimal. It seemed like I was that, what they call the functioning addict. Like, I was going to work, I was doing the things, and goodness, in that last 6 months, things really started to spiral down. I was actually let go from a job that I was working for family. So that was something big to take in, getting fired from family members. Um, my addiction had got so bad that I was actually taking money out of the drawer to, re-up for that night, with anticipation of replacing the money. And, that deal didn't go as it should have. And I couldn't replace that money, and, got caught and was let go. In that time as well, as things progressed, um, we became associated with, folks who were not so great. Um, and our life became very, I want to say, dangerous. It became very dangerous, when you have someone that comes in to your home and begins to run your household, and you have to answer to them. Um, it's very scary. And then, guns become involved in the dealing, and it's just like, oh my goodness, what just happened? I remember laying on the couch in tears, feeling as if I was standing outside my window looking in at my life, and it was just dark. Um, and so just shortly, after that, I actually was evicted from the home that I was renting from my parents. Um, they didn't know what else to do. And so that was their only solution. They knew that we were being watched. They knew we were doing things that we shouldn't be doing. And of course, with that addiction, the bills aren't getting paid. I didn't make it to my mom's birthday dinner on time. All those things just led up to getting evicted. Um, and honestly, I still tell them today, thank you. It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Do you feel like you're in prison?
I did. I felt very helpless and hopeless, and just all these, different emotions, trying to feel those emotions even, because when you're, deep in that addiction, like I remember feeling like I couldn't feel, if that makes sense. Like something was there, in my unconscious mind going, this is not okay. But it was the addiction was driving me.
Sure. I tell you, you talking about your emotions and that hopelessness and far as where you used to be and then going down to doing things that you wouldn't normally do and losing control of your life. I think a lot of us feel like that. And let's go into maybe the day when you started changing, when you knew you had to make a change. Could you go from there?
Yeah. So, after being evicted from the home, we had to then we moved in with my in-laws, and that actually kind of divided, my little family, and that was really hard. And fear, I would say fear was my motivator. Like I said, the folks that we were beginning to be involved with were not great people. They, were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing, and that's what I was starting to do. And so I was faced with an ultimatum. You either go this direction, take your kids, walk this way, and if not, you're going to be facing prison and you're not going to have your children. And so that was a huge eye opener for me. I didn't want to go to prison. I didn't want to have my children taken away. And, it was exactly what I needed to hear. I've always had those thoughts of, and tried to quit 100 times. And it didn't work until that moment. The fear was my motivation.
Well, I always heard, and not just ladies, the one thing that I've heard from other women too in recovery, that usually the last thing, if they don't die, the last thing that happens, they get their kids taken away before they hit their bottom. So was that your bottom then?
That was my bottom. There was no way. I remember actually going in after being confronted, and later that night, I stood in the bathroom. I looked in the mirror, and I became everything that I didn't want to become, and I had become, my biological mother. And I grew up and didn't have the greatest childhood, and so I remember thinking that, looking in the mirror, and I dumped the rest of the substance that I had down the drain, and that was it for me.
Okay, from there, from there, how'd you build your life up? What are the tools that helps keep you clean and sober and sane? And how did you start building your life up from there to get where you're at today?
I quickly was motivated to be the person that I had kind of wanted to be, before I started experimenting and using and fell into addiction. I know you never truly get that person back. And I knew that I was going to evolve, and, that my perspective was going to continue to change and grow. But I, had lived with my parents for a little bit. That helped keep me stable. No one wants to have to move back home. And I was determined to do all I could and work as hard as I could to, get out of the home. It's just hard. We love our parents, but it's hard going back home. And so I worked 2 jobs and put my kids in daycare. And at that time, I was actually working just to pay for daycare. So that was challenging. But there's assistance out there, there's resources out there. So once those kicked in, then I was able to be able to put some money back and start saving. 8 months into my recovery, I enrolled into school. So about my year mark was when I started in my associate's degree, and graduated from Ivy Tech in 2019, I believe, and then went on for my bachelor's. Um, which was great because, coming into Bridges of Hope, I was able to complete my bachelor's practicum underneath our clinical team. And, and then I've just continued to grow from there. But along the way, and, the things that I've been able to do and accomplish, I've needed supports. So the things that keep me sober is not just projecting myself into the recovery community and, working in the recovery field, but intentionally putting people in my life that I know are going to hold me accountable. I have a mentor. I have, my girls in recovery that I can lean on. I still see a therapist. We chatted a little bit before this started about my morning. I still get a meditation in, and if I don't get my morning meditation in, I'm going to do a meditation in the evening. I struggle with anxiety, and so that's something I've had to accept. That is a part of me, and I just have to learn how to cope with that. And those are ways that I do that. Going to meetings. I guess all in all, just connectedness. Stay connected. Any way that you can, stay connected to someone, because it's going to help you just as much as it helps them.
Absolutely. And we mentioned Bridges of Hope a couple different times. Could you tell people about Bridges of Hope and the new Warriors program that's happening there, and the other programs there? Could you talk a little bit about that?
It's hard not to mention Bridges of Hope because it's a big part of my life. It's definitely a family where we're all really well connected, and it's helped me become who I am today. And the opportunities that they have given me, or I could never repay them just for the opportunity to be with them. So yeah, Bridges of Hope. So I'll share that I've been with them for 3 years and 8 months, actually, to be exact. Time flies, I tell you. So I started out as a behavioral health tech, and once I completed my bachelor's practicum, I was facilitating 5 groups a week, and which was great. Neuroscience, relapse prevention, anger management, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy. Groups were my babies. I definitely enjoyed the groups and the interactions with the patients. And so then a year and a half ago, I was promoted to this position in business development department as a clinical outreach coordinator. And so through that comes more growth, right? Business development, you get to build out things. And it was really great to have, Jason Howard come in and just develop this awesome warrior pathway. And I've learned so much from him and from you too, Skip, about how to be an asset for, first responders. So, Bridges of Hope, we are joint accredited care for substance use disorders. So ideally, our philosophy is based on a comprehensive and integrated approach to addressing all issues related with substance use and alcohol use disorders and co-occurring mental health issues. So we are dual diagnosis. And we're a small family-owned treatment center, so it's great for anybody coming in who's scared to, we got to think about that stigma. It's scary to reach out and ask for help, but especially when it comes to doctors and attorneys and first responders. And so it's a nice setup, small 29 beds, for someone to be able to come to and get away and be comfortable with reaching out. And so I love the Warriors pathway.
You're great at your job, or what you do, and I'm just blessed to have a treatment facility and a Warriors program for first responders, and also for anybody come there. But about 3 months ago, or a little bit over that now, probably over that now, the program was developed, the Warriors program for first responders, and then about 3 months ago, you allowed your first responder in there. How was that? How was that experience for you?
Oh, goodness. So now we can sit in the present day and kind of look back. But if from the beginning, it was late when I got that call from you and got connected to him. And, I had no idea what was going to happen. And it was very, very emotional. I thought, okay, I just kind of switch into this mode, and that reach back and help the next addict kicked in, and just having those conversations with this individual, my heart grew super heavy, and I just wanted to help him. And it's ultimately not up to me. I have to run everything through supervision, and I'm going to try not to get emotional now, but it gets me every time. The last thing that he said to me, we get on the phone with any patient and we gather all the information. We want to make sure that they meet medical criteria and that they're going to be a good fit for our program, and vice versa. We want to make sure we're a good fit for them. And the last thing he had said to me was, "You're not going to be able to help me, are you?" And I had to say, unfortunately, that's, not my choice, but I'm going to call my supervisor right now and talk to her about this. And she said to me, well, you've spoken with him, and you tell me what you think. And so I almost immediately hung up with her to call Skip back and say, Skip, just get him here. So that was a very just kind of like a sigh of relief, like, okay, he's going to get help and he's going to be okay. And it was an amazing experience, having him, at the facility and watching him grow. And oh my goodness, like even today, he's still doing really well. He stays connected to everybody. He lives out of state. So I just had a situation come up the other day and I thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to help this person? And I thought, I know, I'll give him a shout and see what we can come up with here. And he was just on fire, ready to go. He's so willing and ready to give back and loving his life now in recovery. So it's amazing. It's an amazing experience to watch, and I'm blessed to have been a part of it.
Well, for me, I know when I got that call at 10 o'clock at night, I talked to him a little bit and I was ready to give up on him. I thought he ain't ready. And I turned it over just to let everybody know. Sometimes I can be a little negative. I turned to Tesse. I said, I don't think he's ready. Tesse, you do whatever you want with him. Just to let everybody know, he's clean and sober today. His family's supporting him. He's part of him and his family is going to be part of the worldwide peer support. Because when we got the call, the worldwide peer support flew him from the East Coast to Indianapolis, and one of our volunteers from the worldwide peer support picked him up and got him about 1:30 in the morning to Bridges Hope, the Warriors program. And he's doing well today. So it took a lot of organizations to come together. But Tesse, you were the captain of the ship for that person. And I know he and his family is grateful because what you did was when you said yes and you made that choice to bring him in, not only was the first one for the Warriors program, but you saved not only his life, but you kept his children from losing a father that they love dearly. And you're amazing for doing that. And we really appreciate it. And I know his family does too.
That's great. And I love staying connected, and seeing all the progress. And it's amazing to see where he's at today, for sure.
Well, one thing we try to do, he was the first, and there's been several more that's come in that Tesse's been involved with. We have another first responder just a few weeks ago that came in that Tesse was involved with. Just to let you know about with Tesse, it was off work. It was on a Sunday or Friday. She was off work. It was about 11 o'clock at night when this started, and we got another first responder in. It's 1:30 in the morning, and Tesse stayed up until that person got help, got taken at Bridges of Hope. So it's a good program. There's a lot of treatment facilities out there for first responders. Some might be geared completely for first responders, but I love Bridges of Hope because when a first responder, fireman, policeman, they come out of treatment, if they do go a 12-step program, they're going to go to one where there's everybody's going to be there, not just firefighters or policemen. You're going to have people with no jobs, homeless or whatever. And I love the diversity that Bridges of Hope offers in the program that it's doing with our first responders, protecting them, but also letting them be out in the general population. I think it's being successful, Tesse. How you feel about it with the other clients when they come head to head to a first responder?
It's great. And so there's been other, patients and first responders. We find out actually that they have a history of being a first responder, and it's been great. I'm going to plug you in, Skip, because then we can then reciprocate, the relationship with Worldwide Peer Support and lean on you and have you come in and just give them that extra support. And then there was another gentleman that came in, and he had been to programs for just first responders, right? It was geared for a program, and ours is the warrior pathway. And so I asked him, I'm always intrigued, and I feel like that just makes me obviously more involved and knowledgeable of what I'm doing in my role. And so, I go in and I speak with the patients and get to know them. And I asked, how would you compare this to, a first responders program? And he's like, well, first responders programs, great, obviously. And he said, but here, I get to come in and I get to focus on the common denominator here with everyone else, and that's we're all struggling with addiction. And so he gets to kind of allow himself to separate from that first responder's role. And so he's not so much focused on that mindset of needing to take rank as if he were at the station. He gets to sit in with like-minded people who are also struggling with addiction and working on their recovery, while also getting to engage in the EMDR therapy that we offer to our first responders, and getting to engage in the worldwide peer support. So it was a great experience for him, and I appreciated his input and his perspective on it, because like you said 3 months ago, we're still evolving, and we want to make changes where it needs to be, but honestly I think it's going really well.
Well, I think what I love about it, I went to the Center of Excellence out in Maryland, and it helped me. It was a good facility. I've been out to First Responder Wellness in California. Code Green, who is one of our sponsors, been there. That's out in California, and some other places, RCA in Indianapolis. They're all good. They all have something they offer. What I like, Bridges of Hope is a small family facility. I remember I told them, I tell everybody, you need a fire pit. You just need a fire pit, because there's nothing like fire therapy, sitting around a fire and talking. And what Bridges of Hope did, we had James Harless, our peer support here in Anderson, Indiana, uh, donated some bricks. We had some other things donated. And the clients there, first responders, came together. We built this fire pit. We built benches out of pallets, and we had a fire. And Matt Cookman, a local artist here, came and sang to him. So that fire pit, and I think the other clients are using it too. But it's very big when you do something like that. And they, whatever I ask Bridges of Hope to do, they allow the worldwide peer support to do, or they're open minded about us doing. Because I think, Tessie, you and your Bridges of Hope family wants to help people and do the right thing, and I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. And we appreciate your perspective. I feel like having worldwide peer support comes in is just a great opportunity for us to further help the patients, especially the first responders, because we become more knowledgeable through you.
Well, it takes a team, and I'm grateful for all the board members on Worldwide Peer Support, our volunteers who do the Zoom meetings. We got 3 Zoom meetings that Bridges of Hope allows our first responders to get on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And that's one of the tools that help them when they get out too. And everybody that's on the Zoom meetings, our facilitators for Worldwide Peer Support, and also our board members are supportive Bridges of Hope and what they're doing. Tessie, there's a question that I ask everybody, a couple questions, but this one in particular. Somebody's in their apartment, or a fireman sitting on the fire truck and just kind of staring out the window going to a run, or a police officer's in a parking lot filling his paperwork after a terrible shooting or something, or somebody's sitting in their one-room apartment and the weight's on their shoulders. The bills they don't know how they're going to pay the bills. They don't want to be alive anymore because of their addiction or PTSD. What are you going to tell them?
I mean, I just think about all the conversations that I've had with folks who are in that very situation, and just meet them where they are, build that rapport with them and encourage them to reach out, let them know that I'm there. Call me at any time, 24/7. And let's get you, where you want to be. A allow them to tell me like, hey, this is where you're at. Where do you want to be? Let me help you get to that point.
Sure. That's good. We walk that path and we know how to get out of it, don't we, Tessie?
Absolutely.
Well, Tessie, there's one other thing, and I ask all the guests too. Is there a phrase or a statement that runs through your mind when you get down or something that keeps you going? Is there something that you can tell us?
So I think I have this one saved to my Facebook page, even, but it's a rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. And I like that because I feel like while we don't want to dwell in it, we should always remember where we were at and, just remember to be proud of where we are today.
Well, good. Well, Tessie, I want to thank you for being a guest on here and sharing your heart and soul. If you want to talk to Tessie, just send us an email on burnoutpodcast.org and we'll forward that to Tessie. If you have any questions for Bridges of Hope in the Warrior Program, Tessie can answer any questions you got. Tessie, thank you again for being on here.
Yes, thank you, Skip.
I hope everybody there that's listening over here has a great day too. Just remember, when you go home at night, shut the radio off and get some sleep. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Burnt Out Podcast. Your host for Burnt Out is Skip O. Produced by Sean P. Neal, a Two on the Lobster production. Tune in every week for fresh episodes of Burnt Out. And visit burntout.org for more information.